You are welcome once again on the Behind Recapped. Countries that have felt long years of war need rest, even if they return home. Victorious. Having suffered serious losses over the years, Russia was tired from its recent military victories. However, some countries need to fight continuously in order to protect themselves. Stagnation, especially in countries harboring many different ethnic groups, may pave the way for future internal complexities. Russia is struggling to survive as a warrior state with a long history of war. In countries with strong war experience, there are certain strategies applied in different areas. Contrary to the confident image Russia presents to the whole world, it has a variable attitude towards more strategies. This is not a way of strong armies. There may be compelling reasons for the constantly changing strategies of the Russian army. The invasion of Ukraine by the Russian army had only one plan. Putin and his troops were confident that they would capture Kiev in a few days. However, they had to change their strategy because of the fierce defense they faced when the Russian army was convinced that the invasion could not be realized so easily. They switched their targets to eastern Ukraine. In eastern Ukraine, where tensions increased after April, Russia achieved some successes. It had not been long since the invasion, at the war had not yet put economic pressure on Russia. The early stages of the war, in which heavy weapons were used and calculated, caused serious economic and military losses to Russia. The aggressive strategy implemented enabled Russia to gain territory in a short time. This situation, which was seen as a successor at first glance, resulted in frustration because it was not managed correctly. It became difficult to complete the food, clothing, and weapon defiances of the soldiers who moved away from the Russian border. The situation was a major factor in the inability of the Russian army to protect the territories it had won. However, the soldiers who moved away from the Russian border had another problem. We will examine this problem in detail. First of all, the Russian army is not only an army of Russian soldiers. The Russian army is not responsible for all the hundreds of thousands of soldiers fighting in Ukraine. There are many different groups within the army. For example, the Wagner Group, whose name is often heard in the news about war crimes committed in Ukraine, does not belong to Russia. The Wagner Group is made up of mercenaries. These soldiers have committed bloody acts in many countries of the world in favor of Russia in the wars in many Middle Eastern countries. They have shown ruthless and unethical behavior. Now they are serving for Russia in the occupation of Ukraine. The Russian government refuses to accept any responsibility for this group, which is frequently implicated in criminal offenses. There are also many groups in Syria that were controlled by Russia. Putin has helped the troops of the dictatorial, later Bashar al-Assad, in many ways to serve his interest. Before the invasion of Ukraine, Russians' entire focus was on Syria. But when Russia began to suffer happy blows in Ukraine, which did not go according to its calculation, it brought its true story, not only Russian soldiers and commanders, but also soldiers from the rebel groups it had supported in Syria. National feelings are very important in protracted wars. The motivation of soldiers. Thank you for subscribing to our channel for more information about Russia and Ukraine war.